Hello, everybody, and welcome to Capsule Cast. This week we are going off the playoffs round one, match one. I am your host, DoorGuard, and this week I have my co host, Donut,
Hello there.
and our special guest this week, a cinema supporter due to their results this week. Welcome, Destiny.
Hello there.
So, lots of fun this week. We'll be going over the LVP a little bit, going over the matches, and then predictions are a little crazier due to a best 2 out of 3 format. Because if one team wins, the other doesn't, and it's 2-0, it's over. But if they go 1-1, we got a third round. So, it's going to be a lot of fun. You guys ready to move on into our first segment here?
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah, let's go.
Alrighty then, starting us off, we have the LVP tournament winner, Raccoon. Um, Lots of fun stuff happened in this. It's kind of the opposite of what we do of the MVP tournament. It is a 1v1 on the map, as you can see here, the tournament map, which has out of bounds. And the way you move on is by losing. So a lot of teams put in joke builds. Surprisingly, Raccoon was on a high defense late or Eternal Life build. They actually wanted to try to not go far, and it ended up going very far. But there was a lot of fun moments. I recommend checking it out. Technically, the results don't mean anything, but at the end, whoever won or lost all the way to the end then got to see if they could lose to Goldo, in which Raccoon did just that. Becoming the worst of the worst in this tournament setting. I would say probably my favorite moment had to be when King Piccolo did exactly what everybody thought he would do and wrung himself out.
Hell yeah.
Donut, what was some of your favorite moments?
I think my favorite moment, probably the cleanest series of plays was when Master Roshi threw a Kamehameha at 19. He absorbed 19 fireback with a B2 to stun Roshi, and then Roshi just fell to the ground. That's probably the cleanest sequence of events we've seen. Probably not even in a tournament, probably like majority of the season, right? And then obviously Raccoon just on a serious build for all intents and purposes. It's like how do you lose to that many characters, right? So
As a
on
side
all
note,
joke builds,
for
that's
Raccoon, his grab does not ring them out. He stops a foot
true.
above the area, so it actually does no damage, and it just puts him
Mhm.
close to the ground, and if he reacts slower, he loses. So it's
Yeah,
actually, his character's just the worst for this kind of map.
yeah, and plus kept him on that tanky build, right? Keep him in on the healing, keeps him in there long enough to bring himself out if possible, right? And I think he did it one time at least. So yeah, it was interesting. That was some fun moments in the tournament. Destiny, what did you think?
Alright, I think one of my favorite moments was definitely King Piccolo rigging himself out against Gaia so quickly
Mm-hmm.
that was not to be seen. Um, Another one was the fact that early Goku was the only character to not have any votes for the LVP,
True.
Yeah,
and
nobody thought he would falter, and he didn't.
and, and
No.
the last like big moments for me, we got a Sentai finale for the LVP.
Hell
We
Oh,
got
yeah.
that's right.
we
We had
got Birder
Birder and
versus,
Raccoon, and then the
and then
winner took on the winner, as in the
yeah,
loser, took on Goldo. So
and Raccoon lost both.
sad days. I don't think anybody wanted to see that many Sentai Squad members up there
Of course.
because we've
Yeah.
seen the sad part too is Birder and Raccoon used to be monsters, so they're not like bad characters by any regard. They
Mhm.
just had a bad season.
Of course.
And Raccoon, especially with 38,000 average, is basically about as middle of the ground character as you can be. So he only made it in the tournament because everybody else did slightly better on his
Yeah.
squad. So kind of hard to criticize there, but it is a for fun event after all.
Hmm.
Yep.
Was there anything else you guys wanted to go over on the LVP?
Godo for Sentai that season. Yep.
As I wanted to say, Goldo for Sentai, or maybe even Goldo for Cold.
Oh,
Watch Boojins are gonna have
plot
to
twist.
paint him pink and pick him up because they're like, oh, nerf Boojins. So I'm waiting for that. We're gonna
Let's do it.
have Buldo next season.
Looking for modders, right?
Yeah, we have modders.
We do.
All right, well, let's get on to match number one then. So
Alright.
this was a very fun week. As said before, it's a best 2 out of 3. So this first match, they have time to change their builds and the rotational order. So they actually get a lot off this. So starting off, Kaiju and Androids. Androids taking round one. probably not surprising since it was on Glacier, but it was certainly a fun match. Raditz versus 16 to start, and Raditz actually getting a pretty decent time against 16. He even tags with a bar left for King Vegeta to hit an ult, the only ult he hits in this match. Does a follow-up combo, finishes off 16, giving them a 1-bar lead. 17 enters, and King Vegeta makes his first tag. Keep track of that. Bardock forces 17 to tag when he's at about a sliver left, and he manages to take out all of 19 before falling to Cell. Nappa misses a max range Nappa Kappa, sad emojis in the chat after that, and tags with a bar left. King comes back in, floats around, does a little bit of stuff, tags, making his second tag to Raditz, who gets taken out by the last bar of Cell, who then tags himself. Super 17 enters, and King tags after doing a little bit of damage for the third time, having Scouter come in, who also gets Super 17 to tag when he's at about half a bar left. He transforms, but right as he transforms, 17 threw a nice energy ball barrage, taking him out. King Vegeta enters and finishes off the last bar 17. He transforms to Ape, but gets taken out pretty quickly by Cell's melee of all things. Nappa returns, misses another Nappa Kappa, and gets finished off by Cell. So I think it was a pretty strong start by Kaiju. King had the right idea of doing the tag game. He just didn't really use his max power. He had Savior every time he came in, and he hit with like an execution beam and an ult, and the rest of the time kind of didn't utilize it for how much he had it. But obviously on androids, besides 19, who, to be fair, Bardock not exactly a great matchup for him, kind of put in the work. Everybody did what they needed to do to get the result, and Cell decided to take the team on his back. That's why everybody, they're all androids with a strap on their back, just in case they need to be carried by Cell. So, Donut, how'd you feel about your match this week?
Relieved. It would be in a wood for sure. I feel going in, Kaiju is definitely one of the tougher matchups for us in a 5v5 setting. Two of our characters that relatively, they have a hard time, let's say, against 8 forms, 16, 19, both with the heavy melee department, but that doesn't really work when you have power bodies and 8 forms and all that fun stuff, right? And then we really had to rely on 17 and Cell, and both of them showed up this week, and that's kind of the game plan, really, because both of them do very well, and hoping at the end for Super 17, not on Savior, for a good reason, um, to carry his weight. And I think everyone did what they had to do. I know I mentioned it in Discord chats before, but we don't need everyone to take the man. We just need everyone to do enough damage to win, right? So stats don't exactly matter. They can do 26,000, 34,000. That's fine. As long as we find a way to win, we're okay with it, right? Now for Kaiju, they obviously really showed up well overall on the board. They had 5 tags on the day, which is extremely well done. Bardock and King Vegeta both doing, you know, their part and then some. I think the big reason why androids were able to win this game was being able to have 3 tags of their own to try to even out that discrepancy. Kaiju being known as the team with the most tags, and androids historically have not had a lot of tagging, so that's a big factor going forward in the next 2 rounds, I feel. I feel a lot of this will be in the next 2 rounds will come to lineup matches. Like how do you avoid the Nappa Cell matchup, the Bardock 19 matchup? Do you avoid this, or do you say, hey, I think that's the best avenue we go for? We may take the loss there, but we may have a different matchup. Let's say King Vegeta versus 19, and find that matchup is better, right? So I think that'll be a game of chess for these next 2 rounds for sure. Destiny, what do you think?
All right, so I think the start was very good. Love to see some Raditz, and he almost took down 16 but tagging the King Vegeta was certainly unexpected. I just wanted to say King Vegeta's tag game today was, or not today, but during the stream was a lot. They say there are tags and then there's King Vegeta tags. But I definitely think Bardock going even with 19 definitely was what androids did want, and yeah, Cell brought the game back on back on his shoulders though, taking out Bardock, most of Nappa, and Raditz before finally tagging himself against King Vegeta. That's something I wanted to bring up, which was androids. Yeah, they had tags, but I believe they had tags at the perfect moment, saving Cell and Super 17.
Yeah, Super 17 could have came back as well. I will say one big thing Kaiju has in their favor is Nappa did do what he was supposed to do. He fired multiple ults off, they just missed, and we've seen weeks where they all hit. So that is
Yep.
certainly going to be a big factor coming in this next match. And obviously, did you guys had a Draconic Aura on a build as well? And that's
Yes.
going to be even more important being at Kaiju's home map this next week, being a night map. And that's
Yep.
why you didn't have Savior. You didn't want to accidentally blow up the map with Super 17 and hit a night map, which could mess with a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of build swaps and stuff, especially in the Android sides. I think Kaiji went with some older builds that have been very successful, but Android's really switching it up. Though I think Scouter's been switching to a Key Plus over a Super Plus lately. So yeah, lots of variability. It was a really close and good match. I know Nappa had a high wall to climb with a bar of Cell and a bar of Super 17, but I mean it was 1 bar to 2 bars. That's pretty close when you're in a 5v5.
Definitely. I was talking after the match with some people, and you mentioned how Nappa misses 2 ultimates, which he usually hits, right? And while that is one thing to mention for Kaiju, of course, that would could plot the way back. Another thing that the androids didn't actually have the best performance. 17 missed 2 point-blank photon flashes. 19 missed a high-speed rush off a grab, which usually doesn't happen. That was in max power mode. So those two, right, or 3 B2s could have catapulted to another 20k difference, right? At the very least, which could have put out of reach for Kaiju. Now Kaiju obviously, unfortunately for them, Scouter's on a B2 like build, right? And he threw none out, right? So that's the big red flag for them. They need to find a way for Scouter to be more involved into the game in next round and possibly in round 3.
Yeah, there's certainly going to be a lot that changes. Did you have something to add there, Destiny?
Yes. I wanted to say, like earlier this season, Scouter was very, very looked upon as one of Kaiju's better characters, and it's sad to see them fall even under Raditz of all characters. But it amazes me that you found a way for Super 17 to work without having to make sure he focuses on his ultimate with the risk of blowing up maps.
And I think I attribute that a lot to Buzz, actually, from Royals. He made a statement of saying when he built for Majin Vegeta, he didn't build for what he wanted, he built for what he was doing, right? He found that he was doing more melee stuff, so he put him in the Attack Plus, right? So I'm like, well, Super 17, same boat. He has these B2s that do fairly well. Hellstorm may need a little bit of buff, but Full Power Energy Wave is also a very strong B2 along with his ult, right? But he doesn't always do that, and he likes to go melee range and get up in your face. So we're saying, well, maybe we should take that approach and build for what he's doing rather than what we want him to do. So that's kind of the inspiration behind it, at least from my point of view.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of build choices like that are going to be coming up in a lot of these matches, and I think that was a smart one. Do you think you'll be keeping Draconic Aura on 19 or moving it on to some others? I don't think a lot can really pick it up besides him or 16, who will be in kind of that driver's seat for dealing with an interesting situation since they kind of struggled this week as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. For round 2, I would say, yeah, we definitely had to have Draconic Aura, but we can't build for round 2. We have to build for round 3, essentially, right? You build for the worst case scenario, right? And in that response, I say no. I don't think we're going to have Draconic Aura on 19 again, mainly because they didn't have. If we picked our matchups correctly, we shouldn't have to deal with an ape, essentially, right? And while they do have Power Body with Nappa on the Max Power mode, they do have Saiyan Soul that could be a problem. I don't envision us going to Tonic Aura again. I think we have plans to make it work, make 19 work without it. But it's gonna be a game time decision type of thing. We're gonna try to mess around with builds and see what we're doing. But at this moment, we're not gonna have Tonic Aura.
Yeah, I mean, that could always be something that changes after all this is being recorded before builds are due, so nothing is
Yeah.
official yet. And
Yep.
obviously, it'll be interesting to see if they change some stuff up on Kaiju side, if Scatter gets something changed. Obviously, King and Raditz, Bardock all doing their thing, and
Mhm.
Nappa's numbers look low, but again, he did what they want him to do. It didn't come off. So
Yes.
there's a lot of that'll be changing up, and obviously not having water on this next map will help with their active charge. So
Yes.
yeah, it's gonna be interesting for sure. Well, did you guys have anything else you wanted to talk about on match 1 here?
No. Should be a good round 2 and possibly 3.
Uh, before we move on, going back to a little bit earlier,
Mhm.
hopefully no one's forgotten this, but Super 17 does in fact have innate Draconic Aura, so he
That is true.
does counter Power Body a bit with his attack build that might prove beneficial.
Mhm.
Yeah, certainly could be a major factor. Plus, both his B2s are very good at just melting and hitting big guys, as one's a beam and one's a tracking Gatling. And you can't
Yep.
really worry about either of those missing on larger targets, since why
Yeah.
17 will have a field day as well.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
there's trade-offs there. But I think it's the same side on Kaiju. There's they got hit by B2s when they did get fired out, the few that were. So well, shall I get moving on then to match number 2?
Yep.
Let's do it.
Alrighty then. Match number 2, we have Cinema versus Muscle. Certainly was a fun match. As you can see here, we have an elite, the highest damage elite, overtaking Ultimate Gohan by Karlik Jr. And it went so well that no, Turles wasn't not in. He just didn't have to enter. So it was an interesting match. Going on to it, we had Super Trunks versus Gogeta to start. So a very solid character versus a very iffy character, and of everything that happened, Gogeta actually took out Trunks with relative ease. I guess I shouldn't say relative ease. He took him out with about a bar and a half left and ended up tagging after 13 came in to Zangaya. Zangaya probably had a big surprise, going near even with 13, forcing him to transform, and he does take her out with only about half a bar left, and he was only down a bar from Gogeta's onslaught at the beginning. Um, and that's when Garlic Jr. comes in. Garlic Jr. takes out all of Master Roshi, most of Bojack. He tags at one bar. Then he tags into Fasha. Uh, Now here's where things kind of go a little weary. Bojack transforms and tags, and Broly on a defense plus 2 eternal life basically takes out all of Fasha and transforms to tag with his last bar. So they're trying to use a tag game to get themselves back in it. Garlic comes back though, finishes off the last bar of Bojack and Broly to finish off the match for Cinema. So ended up being a very good outing by Cinema. Few noteworthy performances. Gogeta being a character they've struggled with as of late to keep in it, really outperforming himself on that key +2 build, and I think he has Rush Blast 3 as well, which did a good number. Obviously, Zangaya keeping up with Android 13. It's not like the greatest performance she could have had, but it was certainly like enough to take him down to a half a bar, so taking a little over 2 bars. Fasha, very underwhelming against Broly. And then Garlic obviously taking out basically 3 full characters on his own is obviously a huge thing. We didn't even get to see Turles' super build this week, but for Team Muscle, besides, you know, the horror that was Super Trunks losing to Gogeta, Master Roshi just in a horrible matchup against Garlic Jr. Bojack tried. I'll give him some credit there, and same with Broly and 13. They put in a good effort, but Hell is a very strange map, and Muscle does like their B2, so it was always going to be a uphill battle with that. So it'll be interesting moving to Muscle Tower, see if they can handle it with 6 members, Iron Fist being on the field then. So, Donut, how'd you feel about this match?
I was a little shocked, not by the result, but just by how the result came to be. Obviously, Garlic was on a tear this last week, and that's props to Cinema for doing that. I think um, the deciding factor actually of the match was really when Gogeta destroyed Super Trunks, right? That's really when it happened because they need Trunks to take his man and then some, right? That's kind of how Muscle's been winning majority of the matches, right? Him and then 13 and Broly being able to um, clean up. That's kind of been the bread and butter. So when one of those pieces fall, it's like, well, what's our backup plan? And Bojack and Roshi struggling so much this season, you don't see the avenue for them on it. I do think Zendaya going relatively even with 13, that is a no good for Muscle. They cannot have that happen. They need to either tweak 13 to destroy her or to avoid that matchup if possible. I don't feel good for Muscle to say, oh, we need to avoid the 13 Zendaya matchup. That does not sound like a winning avenue for them. But for Muscle to get to have the outing they did, it does not bode well for them if they go to round 3 even, right? I do think that there is a place for Muscle to find wins. I think Broly could be a key component, considering he did beat Fasha, right? So that was good on his part. But it's hard for me to find a path if they don't get Trunks working or back to what we know him to do. He can't get shut down. Then I don't see a path for him to win. Obviously, Cinema, good job. Y'all doing great. Garlic, Gogeta, yeah, enough said, right? Zendaya having a decent showing, love to see it, right? So yeah, I think y'all are doing great there. Went 16 for 21 on B2s. That's pretty damn impressive. Alright, so Destiny, how'd you feel? Talk to us. How'd you feel about this?
He's got nothing to say. This isn't even
Yeah.
his team.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. I don't know.
Alright, I just want to start with I was so scared of Super Trunks and 13 snowballing through our team, like how Super Trunks did in our divisional. But Gogeta, he woke up, he said this is the time, and he beat Super Trunks. But may I add that even though Gogeta only had 2 bars remaining, what didn't help was that he did a health pushback, so those stats on Super Trunks are that his actual damage. And then yeah, definitely Zendaya going even with 13. Actually, Gogeta did 1 bar to 13, which did help Zendaya go even with him. And then
Well, don't forget he gets health back in his transformation, and she brought him back down again. Hence why it's very impressive what she managed to do.
Yeah, no discrediting Zendaya. She did go even with 13, and I'm really proud of her for that. And then Garlic just tearing through Roshi and Bojack. It's something I believe Muscle did not want. And Broly doing what he did to Fasha was really scary, but we did have Garlic still in the back, Gogeta, and a full health Turles to deal with them. But speaking of, we did take a risk and go Savior plus a new AI for Turles.
Oh.
We did Savior plus Chaozu AI, so if he stepped on the field, it was going to be a big risk.
Yeah, Chaozu known for throwing out the B2s, which is nice, but also if those don't land, then it's kind of wasted, right? So.
Pretty sure he's had Chaozu in the past. It's just been a long time, so who knows if it would have been the same.
Yeah,
because it was a different team as well.
But yeah, we definitely the stats may be low for Zendaya and Fasha, but we will definitely hold this match up. Those performances we do not take as a loss. We take as a learning experience, and we will try to fix it. And we will also try to get Turles in next week.
Just start him.
Yeah, just start him. Easy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interest going on. Obviously, Muscle is a very experienced team in this spot, so they're not exactly probably sweating too hard. They obviously have to make some changes, but being a best 2 out of 3, if they can get the momentum in this next match, there is no changing of builds. I believe they just go straight into it after. If I'm correct, is that right, Donut?
Yeah, you have the one build submission, and then it does round 2, and then immediately into round 3.
Do they switch the map for round 3?
They do
They go
switch the map back to, yeah, so like for, let's say, androids and kaiju, that's the home map for round 2, androids for match 3.
Yeah, so there's still, if Muscle does take it, they will still end up back in Hell. So even if their lineup is good or it dominates, there's still like a map switch that might be enough to still make things confusing. So
Hmm.
there's still a lot of strangeness there that could happen. So I think overall, I think both teams have showed a lot throughout this entire league. And Cinema being a new team, this is their first experience into this area, especially with this lineup. So it'll be interesting to see how they make their switches because yeah, I think that was a build on Broly to try to maximize use of his transformed version. Just lots of defense, lots of healing. Just
Yeah,
have him last as long as he can, and if he does, man, it just gets scary. So
yeah, that's what they used last season in the bowl against us. So yeah, we know how scary that could be.
yeah, it goes pretty hard. And obviously, Super Trunks, maybe he had a hard time against Gogeta there, but that build has been one to slap through people, and they have a Super Plus build they can throw on him. So it's not like they are lacking alternatives for him. They have a few builds that work on him. So
Yeah, of course.
maybe Roshi and Bojack not doing 100% what they need to do, but they still had sparks of moments.
Yeah,
So there is that worry. But there's also just the worry of they didn't see Turles at all, so they don't even know what's going on with him.
of
But that's
course.
also a hit on Cinema because they, like
Yeah,
Destiny
there's new
said,
AI. Yeah.
yeah, there's some new stuff on him um, that you don't know how that's going to turn out. So lots of variabilities in the air there. So
Yeah, I'm thinking about the matchup. If they start, let's say Gogeta and Supertron start again, I wonder, since we've seen Gogeta just go off and on in an instant, right, from match to match. Like he has an outing like this week, then you go back to, oh well, he did nothing against Nuova, right, a few weeks back. So which Gogeta do you get, right? If you play this match 10 times, how many does he actually win like that, right? So I think Muscle's mindset says Super Trunks may still be a good starter. Maybe they switch to 13, but no, I wouldn't be too concerned right now. I just have to find it where Super Trunks does his man and then some. You have to find a way. That's a bid win condition.
yeah, there's certainly going to be a lot of interest with the flip flops because Zangaya was or Fasha was on an off week this week, so it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see if she powers back on, as she does have a badge for the sweeper tournament, one of the two people that do it. So her other sweeper opponent, Cooler, did do well this week, whereas she struggled. So will be interesting to see that. I'm guessing, Destiny, you're probably not too happy with the performance she pulled out this week.
Definitely not. But I will say, look out for something changing on Fashion this next week.
Oh.
And
Is this a return of the Trunks AI?
uh, it's definitely not AI. Just gonna tell you that now. But I will say, I think Muscle, even though yeah Trunks didn't do as hot as normal, I think they still had to push us. They almost killed Garlic for crying out loud. So yeah, Muscle we're certainly not counting out, and the map switch definitely does not help someone like Fasha. She likes to trap people in places. That's why Hell is so good for her. But the one main thing for next match, I just hope the snowman lives.
Yeah, I gotta keep Muscle's one other supporter alive. If he dies, they are down to just the commentator, which would be a little rough.
Yeah.
Would be unfortunate. It was a very big risk, but a motivational one indeed. Well, do you guys have anything else you wanted to add on to match number 2 here?
Nope.
Um, nope, I'm good.
Alrighty then, let's get rolling right into match number 3, Namek versus Hybrids, the West Kai Showdown, the match that could have never been. It was very close in the end, but coming in, this was actually probably one of the most surprising matches of the week, outside of the last one. Granted, there was only 4 matches, but this one had a crazy start off. So starting it out, we have Late Piccolo versus Ultimate Gohan, both with Attack +2, Quick Fast Attack Series, and Eternal Life. A mirror match to start, one of the very rare times we've seen this. And, you know, for the Ultimate Gohan, who's been the ultimate threat this season, he got taken out after only doing 1 bar to Late Piccolo, which was a huge surprise. Late Piccolo then took out all of Sword Trunks. Granted, Sword Trunks did take him down to a bar, and he finally went down to Kid Gohan after doing a bar to him. So almost got Elite off this week. which would have been Namek's first elite this season. And an incredibly strong start, 2 full characters, and then Kid Gohan with a bar down, even on his defense +3. So with that, we have Tam entering on his new build, coming in and taking on Kid Gohan, who tags with a bar left. Future comes in, takes out Tam after hitting a nice 12k B2. Or no, sorry. Future comes in, takes out Tam, and Nail comes in and hits a nice 12k B2. One of the rare times we get to see Nail's ult, which is a rush B2, which is very fun to watch. Highly recommend just checking that animation out. And then even a super explosive wave to finish off Future. Teen comes in, takes out Nail, takes out a large chunk of Nuova, but he does manage to tag with about half a bar left. King Piccolo comes in and takes out the last bar of Teen and Kid to give Namek the victory. So no, King Piccolo did not play bad. That was basically as much HP as was left for him to take. So good overall, I think, from Namek. It was a very surprising output from them. Nuova kind of derped, but he was up against the monster that is Teen Gohan. And late Piccolo, obviously, with probably one of the performance of the season for them. Will be interesting to see if they can replicate that in the future. Obviously, hybrids have a little worries. Ultimate Gohan has not had a wink under like 80k in a while, so it's quite terrifying. But everybody else, even Sword, kind of putting in some work. So if they get him back online, I think we're going to have a slobber knocker this next week. What do you think about this first match, Donut?
I thought it was very, very surprising. Because I had hybrids pegged, and that's not a knock to Namek. They've obviously deserved to be here, but they've only won 3 out of the last 9 weeks of the regular season, right? Because they started 6-0. So it kind of said, oh, we're stumbling into the playoffs instead of, just stamping our foot saying, hey, we deserve to be here type of thing. But yeah, the start for them could not have gone more perfectly, right? Like Piccolo just dominating over Ultimate Gohan. And if you told me that about 5 weeks ago, I would have said you were crazy. But here we are. That's the world we're living in. And once that's just, they took the lead, they held on to it, did what they had to do to close it down. That's all you had to do, right? And obviously Team Gohan moving it back a little bit into Hybrid's head to say, hey, well, maybe we can find a way to come back into this match, but it wasn't enough. You have Nuova still there, you have Nail who can go off with ults or just stall you out, right? And it's a big mountain to climb. You need Ultimate Gohan to be your main damage dealer and say, hey, you go out there, dominate whoever it is, don't care who it is, just beat them, right? And that's what he's done majority of the season. So you felt confident with him as a starter. I understand that mindset, but it just did not work out for him at all this week. Sword Trunks, I feel like Sword Trunks actually did his part. Even though on a down week, I feel like he got his ult off. I believe it was onto Late Piccolo to do some damage on that, to try and kind of push it back into Hybrid's territory, at least a little bit. Say, hey, maybe we have a chance. But Late Piccolo just really destroyed the match right now, in my opinion. And I think in regards to adjustments going forward, you may look at saying, hey, maybe we put Sword Trunks as a starter, maybe put Kid Gohan as a starter.
I mean, they've had
or
everybody except Future start, so yeah, they have
yeah,
some scary variety there. Even Teen has
yeah,
started.
yeah, exactly. So you say, well, how do you avoid that ultimate Late Piccolo matchup? Do you try to avoid that? You just say, hey, we're confident it was just a fluke performance. There's no way it happens again, and we're confident having him, match up against Late Piccolo. That's if Late Piccolo even starts, right? They've had, I believe, Nail or Tambourine has started before, right? So they've had various starters themselves. I feel if it wouldn't be a safe option, I'd say try to avoid that matchup just because of how poorly it went, right? You want to try to find an Ultimate versus King Piccolo, Ultimate versus Nail or Tambourine. I think those are better suited for Ultimate to break through. But on that, Namek obviously fantastic job prepping for this match. Little chip on the shoulder after them losing the divisional to hybrids. So I feel they prepped well and they have a good game plan going into the next round. Hybrids, little things that change up. I think just lineup order is the main thing. No, nothing with the builds. Destiny, what are you thinking?
Definitely think this match really was heavily based on the starter, Late Piccolo, Ultimate Gohan, both same builds, but Late Piccolo just took his student, put him on his lap and spanked him a little bit. Like it was just nothing was done. But definitely Ultimate Gohan. It's we've seen you do better against someone of same melee. So I wanted to say I really like this new nail build that Namek came up with. It's
Mhm.
really nice to see what he can do with it. And but I did in fact have hybrids as my prediction for this, since late Piccolos tend to be a problem character sometimes, and definitely King Piccolo tends to as well. I think both teams did as best they could. Teen Gohan, I love to see that. Yeah, maybe he was not the best for the last couple of weeks of the season, but he has come back to be somewhat of the scary monster we know him as. And we all know hybrids can go the limit. We've seen a week where Sword Trunks has gone 80k and has duoed a team with Ultimate Gohan. That would be scary to see again, especially in a 5v5 scenario.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of variability on both sides. Both teams have their kind of trademark trump card in Nuova and Teen, which are B2 monsters, and then their melee monsters in late and ultimate. But at the same time, it used to be Tambourine that was the melee for Namek, but they've kind of moved him to a more all-rounder build. So, and he's been doing pretty all right with that. I don't think he's had any like insane performances, but none of them have been bad since swapping. So he's got a lot of potential there. And even Sword Trunks as of late's come online. So both teams have their stuff. It'll be can their characters that have stood out in the past, like King Piccolo or Future Gohan, like pop off as hard as some of the characters did this week. I think both teams are still immensely terrifying because their weak characters still seem stronger than some characters on other teams that have been struggling this season. So
Yeah.
it's what can they do with them to get them back in game shape, because this is a battle of juggernauts here, I think, as any West Kai divisional has shown, and they can be
Mhm.
quite terrifying.
Indeed.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say in our camp over here on the Boojins, we've been trying to predict builds and characters for both teams
Mhm.
just to try to figure out. And I was the only one to predict a late Piccolo start with Eternal Life, and I'm kind of terrified at how accurate I was that he would do well. So it'll be interesting to see what changes happen, because you have to wonder if hybrids maybe think it was a fluke that Ultimate Gohan lost. Like maybe had he started the combos off, had it been the other way
Mhm.
around, how do they
Oh
try
yeah.
that again? Are they scared late Piccolo can't do what he did again, so they switch it up to be safe? Like there's
Mhm.
so much variability in just like the lineup that already was there, and with a few tags that happened, it switched up the lineup slightly. So will they
Yeah.
change it up or they leave it? Obviously,
Mhm.
we're going to Namek's home. I forget which their home
Kami's
is.
Lookout.
Kami's
Kami
Lookout.
is
That's right, and that has some really funky geography to it.
Mhm.
That actually blocks a lot for being just a floating island. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that impacts anything. We know Nuova, with his burst attack, even though it's been reduced in size, is still quite big and can snipe people out, but maybe someone like Future Gohan or something with the more beam style it's a little harder to hit. So, yeah, a lot of variability there. Going to be interesting to see. Do you guys have other remarks on this matchup? I mean, I guess it's
Um.
mostly for predictions at this point, but in
Sure.
terms of what
I
actually happened.
Yeah, I think if you came into the match saying that Sword Trunks would do better than Ultimate, you'd been laughed at right after out the building. But that's exactly what happened, and you're right. If on the Ultimate versus late, if Ultimate, if you play it back, how do we know Ultimate win this dominate, right? That and attack plus it was attack plus 2, defense minus 1, right? Um, that mirror match, I believe. Yeah,
attack,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
yes.
attack plus two,
Um,
defense plus
so
one.
yeah, okay. Um, so yeah, that matchup just generally is very swingy, right? It can go either way. And when you have two very melee focused characters, when you get momentum, and momentum's a big thing. I know we used to talk about it with 16 all the time. If you find momentum and say, hey, combo after combo, you can just destroy people. So both these characters have done that repeatedly throughout the history within the league. So how do we know Ultimate can't just do that to late Piccolo, right? So it's a gamble, right? Because you have the stats from last week or this week saying don't do it, but then you have 15 weeks prior to that saying do Ultimate Gohan as a starter on that build, right? So it's a hard call if you're in hybrid department right now.
It's also just the terror that Nail has been. I know his week at
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
39 doesn't seem crazy, but there was an ult in there, a rush ult at that, which is a little
Yeah.
harder to hit. There's also just like so much other stuff that he's been doing and showing off, um, that it is quite scary. And
Yeah.
obviously, yeah, it's just going to be interesting
Yeah.
to see all that
Yeah.
coming into play because this is the first time in a long time Nail's gotten to playoffs. He's been kind
Yeah.
of a character picked up and dropped a good bit. Um, Obviously, Nuova's been to playoffs just with other teams, so now he has his first shot with his natives. And it's
Mm-hmm.
probably the first time King Piccolo's been, even though the stats lie because he didn't have much to
Yeah.
do, but this
Yeah.
season as a whole has been a struggle for him being in the LVP tournament where he used to be a very strong kind of ult spamming kind of character. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of turmoil on both teams for their characters that maybe used to be good. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
I mean I
I
don't really have much else to say about this match. I kind
yeah.
of just can't wait to see
Uh,
follow up.
Yeah, exactly. I think the scariest thing right now to think about is that Namek was able to have this kind of performance with Nuova having an off week. Right? That's the scariest thing.
yeah.
That doesn't even show the max potential, right? Let's say Nuova can hit that 60,000 area, as we know we can. Like, oh crap! Now what does hybrids have to answer, right? Or what does anyone have to answer, right? So if you have this late Piccolo, this Nuova, Nail doing what he can do, let's say Namek just passes round, they can give the fight to Bujins, right? They have everyone working like that.
Uh, just wanted to say that, yeah, definitely agree with you there, Donna. They can definitely bring a fight to Bujins and take another round on hybrids if the characters, especially Nova, start popping off again. But I also wanted to say that this is not the normal nail build that we've seen for most of the season. They can always go back to that and have him just do what he normally does, which is stall and and still be a great character.
Hmm.
And another thing is that I don't know if I'm going to be filling out a Sword Trunks apology letter sometime soon.
Was there anything else you guys wanted to say on the third match here? Are you ready to move into the final one for round one?
Let's
I'm
let's
ready.
do it.
Alrighty then, the final match of this week and of round one is Cold Kingdom versus Resurrected Warriors. This one was a very good slobber knocker as well. Will be very fun to see the changes that come in place. But to start off, we have Metacooler versus 18. The first time we've seen 18 starting. She usually likes to have Savior. So certainly a risk, and it almost paid off. Got down to about half a bar before going down. So half a bar, Metacooler survived just barely, but gets taken out immediately by Aider. So very even starting. Cooler comes in though and hits an 11k ult just immediately upon landing. And after a second ult on Aider, which blows up the planet, he hits him with the combo, takes him out after losing half his health as well. Cooler then takes out basically takes out most of Vidal before getting taken down by early Piccolo. So Cooler doing an immense job taking out two characters. Early Piccolo though hits a 13k, I believe it was an ult on Frieza, but Frieza powers all the way up through all of his forms to 100% and then hits a nice tag, or gets early to tag, and then Vegeta takes out the Space Tyrant. So Vegeta getting his revenge on Frieza in a nice little fashion here. End tags at a sliver when King Cold was kind of slapping him around. And he even takes out the last of early Piccolo and tags. So Raccoon only had about, a bar left of Vegeta to take out. So ended up being a pretty big lead in the end for Cold Kingdom. I think Resurrected Warriors put a lot of eggs into a very ambitious start to try to catch him off guard. And while 18 didn't do bad, almost all of her damage came from her last bar of life, it seemed like. And obviously, Cooler still being the threat he's been all season, spamming ults, running around, blowing people up with I beams. Certainly taking a page out of Garlic Jr.'s book, or maybe Garlic Jr. out of his book of hitting that sweeping eye laser. So will be very interesting to see what changes are made. Obviously frustrating that the start maybe didn't go the way planned, but being even, early Piccolo popping off, and I guess the biggest surprise was just Ader eating so many ults to the face. Like, and Vegeta was up against King Cold, who is a pretty strong melee character and a strong melee build. So that was something that could have happened as it played out, but I don't think anybody expected Mr. Consistent Ader just getting kind of death-balled to death. So, surprising result there that kind of turned it into favor, but I don't think that was a matchup they were dishappy with. Um, but yeah, congratulations to Cole taking round one. Uh, round two is certainly going to be strange with we never expected C18 starting, so seeing her start here, who knows what else they could throw out to bring it back. But in terms of this match, good job, Cole. What do you think, Donut, about the final match here?
Yeah, that was a decent match overall. Yeah, obviously congrats to Cold for finding the win today or this week. Um, I think 18 didn't do bad by numbers standpoint, but by context, she did horrible, right? We expect her to be the 60,000, 70,000 character, right? The person who just ults and B2s you to death, right? That's what she has done historically. That's what we expect her to do going forward. And for her to have a 40,000, that's an off week per se, right? Even though by stats, she would have taken her man, right? Um, so I don't think they'll go with that again. I highly doubt they do a starting 18 again. I think the big turning point was Ada obviously falling to Kula. And I think I've never seen Ada do that poorly in a matchup, in any matchup, right? Like even in matchups we thought he would do badly in last season, like against 13, he still did fine. He still held his own, right? So um, I don't think Cole can expect to see that type of performance from Ada. I think Ada will do much better these next round or two, depending. Um, I think the biggest boost for Resurrect Warriors, if you're looking for a bright spot, this was a poor showing statistically from early Piccolo, because he went 1 for 8 on B2s. If he hits 3, 4 of those, right, that he missed, like how much damage he would have gotten, 80,000, 90, right? That's very good, right? So if you're talking about B2 usage, that was poor, but by stats wise, he obviously did great. I think King Cole coming back into form, fantastic. That's great. That's what they've been trying to get him to do the entire season. Just never been able to do it, and they finally found a way for it to happen this week. So I think there's a lot to look at. I think the builds for everyone is relatively okay. I think maybe moving some slight changes to 18's build, because obviously not being a starter, but at least predicting that will change there. But I think lineup placement is the big thing. I think Ada versus Cooler may be an issue. It's too little data, I think. I don't know if it was just a one-time thing or if it's just Cooler has the Ada's number, right? It's hard to say. I do think the biggest thing that Resurrect Warriors can hang their hat on is clashes. They won every clash this week, 5 for 5. And that helped keep them within touching distance, right? Obviously didn't pull it out, but it kept them in range at least. I think they need to replicate that as well as tune up 18 in the lineup area, and then if you can get early Piccolo to do that type of melee and ults while hitting more B2s, they have a winning formula. Cold, obviously, Cooler, do what they have to do. Frieza, a little bit bump up, and then you start Raccoon with a lot of health and a lot of damage to still possible. So I think they're in a great position right now to take it. Destiny, what do you think?
Think, yeah, I agree there. The Android 18 was a really, really surprising start from Resurrected Warriors, but fact that she fact that she did go nearly even, at least stat wise, with Metacooler is surprising. But I think once Ader versus Cooler started, once we started seeing Ader start to fall to Cooler, and then Fidel not doing much better and falling right after him, I think a few Resurrected Warrior supporters' hearts sank right there. Shining light in the darkness was early Piccolo. Glad to
Hmm?
see that they got him working. They put Eternal Life on him instead of End Vegeta this week too. And looking back on the stream quite a few times, he missed a lot of B2s, and I think if he hit most of the B2s he fired, this could have been a Resurrected Warriors victory because Cold only had a full health Raccoon and a near dead King Cold at the end of the match.
Hmm.
And then another thing is that N Vegeta, this is not the N Vegeta that we have seen in weeks past, where he just demolishes his character and survives. But and then another thing I wanted to point out is that I haven't heard talked about was after N Vegeta transformed, he tried the alt Raccoon, and Raccoon kicked him out of his alt.
True.
He got robbed.
He did. That was very sad. Well, obviously, if you're a Resident Warriors, but Cold
Yes.
Thought was great. Cold Thought was fantastic.
I think I definitely heard a lot of people going, just screaming off the top of their head when N Vegeta's ult was kicked out by Raccoon.
Yeah, even the casters thought that there was he was gonna get just totally slabbed there, and there was
Mhm.
worries of Raccoon dropping the whole round because of something like that. But nope, he came in and he had a game plan, and that was to kick
Yep.
Vegeta in the face.
Yep.
Raccoon
Yeah,
costume
redemption.
2 was what they needed.
Indeed.
Yeah, I think overall both teams really showed off a lot of what they had. Obviously, there was some stuff that came out of nowhere, but both teams have also done a lot of different builds and a lot of different characters. So there was also just some bad matchups, like Videl
Mhm.
being against a spammer like Cooler, or really just their best character in Cooler is obviously just unfortunate.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think when they started 18, they were hoping that she would rush down somebody else. And
Mhm.
when it was Meta Cooler, obviously an Android versus Android, they probably would have rather have had Ader because he could deal with that a little better. But you know,
Mhm.
it's hard to say. It really is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of characters that are good on both sides that could really do so many different things. So
Sure.
it certainly, as Destiny said, there were some lights in the darkness for both teams. Even though Cold Kingdom won, the rest of their characters were kind of middle of the ground.
Mhm.
And where Resurrected Warriors may have lost, they had characters certainly popping off in their own way. It'll be interesting, though, if they can keep that going and step it up.
Yep.
Was there anything else you guys wanted to add then, or did you want to move on to the predictions?
Um, I think that about covers it on my end. Because I think mainly it's just the lineup changes that maybe just didn't pan out for Resurrected Warriors this week. But I do think they have the pieces, at least in character-wise, to find a win. Maybe two this next week.
Yeah, have to agree there. It's really it for me, but they have the pieces to be a good team. It's just this match, you got real unfortunate with like Ader and Videl getting destroyed by Cooler, and then just the match going the way it did.
Now, obviously, just if Ader throws up some more Ader's Anger super explosive waves, if Videl, she did hit a few rushes, but if she hits more,
Yeah. Which
obviously 18, they
we've
didn't
definitely
plan on
seen
her
them do.
ulting, but hitting B2s, if that Vegeta ult gets off, but he's supposed to melee, yeah, there's so much there that could happen to change things.
Yes.
Both teams have that, though, because same with Raccoon didn't really get time to do anything, so it'll be interesting
Yeah,
to see
exactly. Yeah.
if his build changes at all or whatnot. So, all right. So, shall we move on to the predictions then?
Let's do it. Oh, you want to say something?
One more thing, that Raccoon win screen was very funny. Yeah. All right, I'm ready.
Alrighty then. Moving on to predictions for the first match. And I believe we're going in the same order as it was. So we'll have Androids versus Kaiju, but this time on Kaiju's home map, which is a night map. You know, honestly, I think even with the change to night and how strong Kaiju are, I think Androids might just have the edge here. Obviously, if we go to a round 3, it would be incredibly difficult for Kaiju to make another fight on that map. But just overall, I think androids might have the slight edge here. A lot of their B2 guys did well, and obviously apes are easier to hit with that, so they almost don't want that. So unless they get some luck with Bardock taking out um, 17 and or Cell, it's just going to be a hard time for them to make a full transition. But it's always there, but I think I have to give the slight edge to Kaiju going and making this a 2-0.
Okay. I'm going to mimic that. I think androids will take it. I do think Kaiju will make a big problem for us on night just because of it shuts down two of our characters. But you're right, I do think that we have Super 17 who can break the ape form just by himself. We have the B2s from Cell and 17, which are very easy to hit, especially the larger characters. I do think we have the pieces to take it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree there. Androids, I'm sorry, Kaiju, but kind of have you can't really match up to the androids when they have stuff like Cell and 17 popping off. But I do agree, it's Super 17 Draconic Aura, and Cell and 17's B2s being easier to hit on giant people is definitely better. And you also have 16 and 19 just doing their defense stuff, holding off for the rest of their teammates. And one problem I see for Kaiju is Scouter Vegeta. He has not been the best over the past few weeks, and last match certainly did not help him. Even on a night map, I don't think Scouter Vegeta is going to get that much better.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot. Obviously, if it does go through and they do win, I still would say it'd probably be 2-1 androids. It's nothing against Kaiju. I really want them to win and keep pushing. I think they're a team that had great improvement this season, but androids have just always been solid. So,
Yeah.
as it sounds though, we have 3-0 for androids. Um, Moving on to the next match, we have Cinema and Muscle round 2. I do think that Cinema is going to take this as 2-0. I think even with Muscle making changes that they need, Cinema won by such a lead and have some hidden stuff with that it's going to be very difficult. And I know there was an elite performance, but that's a character who's been solid all season. So no matter what, they still have to deal with him. And if someone like Roshi matches up against him or Fasha, it's just almost game over for him. So I'm gonna have to give the edge to Cinema here, going 2-0.
I'll do it with the cinemas as well, but I think it'll be 2-1. I think Muscle will find some sort of um, answer for them on Muscle Tower. But I do think Hell and the way Hell works, and there's all little nooks and crannies that they can find room to charge up for Dojita or flashing and pin someone down in that little crevice. I think that fits into Cinema's playstyle a little bit better, and I'll take it for Cinema 2-1.
Of course, Cinema Sporter, I have to go with my team here, but I definitely see potential in Muscle taking it to a 2-1. Trunks has been so consistent, 13's been so consistent, and even Broly. But and then Gogeta's like he loves to flip flop, and definitely last week with Fasha losing so heavily to Broly, it'll definitely be a fight for it. But I think our problems their problem children between Roshi and Bojack definitely outweigh ours, and we still have Turles, who has not been seen. Could be a problem, could not be, but he does have some hidden stuff that has not been seen in the last week. But I definitely think there will be a fight for it.
Alright then, so we have 3-0, but it sounds like a prediction to go to round 3 here. So that'll be interesting to see, obviously. Moving on to the next match, West Kai, we have Hybrids and Namek for their round 2. And, I think I think it might be a comeback for Hybrids, at least to take it to round 3. I think that's almost impossible. This one was one of the hardest ones to predict because all the others, even though it had such a polarizing match with late Piccolo, he's been so up and down. But yeah, I think Hybrids might actually do the reverse sweep here and take it 2-1. I think they have a lot of tools that might have misfired in the first round, but they take they're going to be taking it super serious in these next ones that might, with what I saw from Nuova and him struggling a little bit, I'm a little worried for Namek. So I think hybrids might reverse sweep this 2-1.
Fair enough. I'm gonna stick with Namek, but I'm gonna say 2-1 for Namek. Well, I think hybrids will be able to answer back this round 2. I don't think we'll have the same performance from late Piccolo, but I think Nuova will overperform than what he did this past week, and get back to what we used to seeing him do, and we'll be able to cover the late Piccolo's small drop in damage output. So I think Nuova will be the hard carry for round 3.
I'm going to have to say Namek as well. I don't know if it's going to be 2-1 hybrid, though hybrids do seem like a team that, yeah, Ultimate Gohan, he may have done nothing this week, but that could have just been a fluke, or have to do just a little bit of a lineup change. And Teen Gohan is definitely no slouch, nor his kid, even Sword Trunks for that matter. But have to consider that it is going to be Namek's map next week, and characters like Nuova have such big B2s, while characters like Hybrids has like almost doesn't have as many big B2s to rely on, that it's going to be so hard to dodge them. And late Piccolo, if he does another thing like he did this week, it's definitely going to be hard for Hybrids to come back. But I give it at least at the best a 2-1, at the worst a 2-0 for Namek.
Alrighty then. Yeah, I think obviously all playoffs matches are going to be insanely fun to watch, but there's such variability in the insanity that the characters on each of these teams can pull out. Kind of already know the 1 or 2 characters on all the other teams, but it seems like anybody on either of these teams could really pop off out of nowhere. So 2-1 hybrid or Namek to hybrids, but obviously I think all you guys are just hoping one of these teams take out Bujins.
Yep.
At least
Just
that's
a little
what it's
bit.
like in general chat. Or Bujin's forfeit. All of West-Kai forfeits. None of them want to play anymore.
That is definitely what
me
it's
help.
like for most of the people.
We'll do it if
anyone
androids
to
drop
pick
out,
up
right?
Bujins.
Nah. Yeah, I'm hoping someone takes out androids here soon, but we will see.
Okay.
Hey, you guys took a game off. You're the only other team to take a game off us. The other team didn't make it, so we got something to
That-
worry about.
That is true.
So
That is
moving
true.
on to the final Kai, South Kai, we have Resurrect Warriors and Cold Kingdom round 2. I'm gonna be honest, I think it's gonna be a 2-0 for Cold Kingdom. I think Resurrected Warriors, I've been putting a lot of creativity in to try to make a comeback, but I think they are just struggling a little too much with too many characters kind of being a little too varied in results, where Cold is looking like the last like 5 weeks of the season, they really started, like their gears really started to click, and I think that kind of small burst of continuity there has really helped them. So I think they're going to take it over Resurrected Warriors.
I'll mimic that. I think Cold will take it as well, making it 2-0. I think even if you change up 18 for the lineup, put her in the back a little bit, or not first, essentially. I think holistically, they still have a lot more problem childs on Resurrected Warriors than they do for Cold. Videl being the most notable one. No, Cold doesn't have that Videl type character that's been struggling throughout the majority of the season. So I think just as a 5-man unit, Cold has it over Resurrected Warriors, especially being on home map.
What is Cold's map again, if I may ask?
Um,
I know it can't
Isn't
be
it
destroyed.
Broly's planet?
Okay.
I think so. I think so.
I think
Okay.
it's Broly's planet.
Just
They
wanted,
fought there a lot, so.
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure. I'm still going to give it to Cold Kingdom.
Raccoon can plant there.
Yeah.
True.
Does that help? He couldn't
I-
plant on Destroyed Earth, but he can plant there, and the map can't be blown up, so he doesn't have any fear of that.
I'm going to have to give it to Cold Kingdom, though. Yeah, I do agree. Fidel's been a big problem child for Resurrected Warriors. Early Piccolo, not so much in the later half of the season. But the reason why I asked that question is because I definitely think one of the reasons why Resurrected Warriors kind of missed a lot of stuff is because of the Destroyed Earth and the amount of like airspace that it was, since most of their stuff is beam related. So maybe Resurrected Warriors could take it to a 2-1, but I'm gonna have to still give it to Cold Kingdom.
So it sounds like we have a 3-0 for Cold, but both teams making it in and having like pretty good runs really at the end of the season for both of them have that momentum to really shape up. So it will be very interesting to see who ends up going out against Rugrats here and taking Toshiro out of the tournament because obviously whoever wins here just walks over Rugrats.
Obviously,
Yeah,
obviously.
100%
I,
all
I
the
was
time.
gonna say either ones that go up against Budokai and North Kai might take Andy out of the tournament.
Yeah, we'll see about that. There's a lot. I'm excited to see these matches, and I'm excited to see because this is GT's first time in playoffs, and they got a bye. So
True.
obviously, it's really awesome for them, and it'll be interesting to see maybe what they've come up with in that break time for going into that match. But obviously, great. They basically secured a very nice first season and distant start by getting that far already. So.
I wanted to say for all the new teams getting in the playoffs is a big deal, but for East Kai, both Cinema and GT were fighting for that bye position because Muscle was out of the running after they lost.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of there was a lot of change at this season, so a lot of awesome things that happened, and I'm pretty sure there'll be even more with this next season. I don't know if it'll be as big of changes, but I think there will certainly be plenty of stuff adjusted on teams. Lots of testing already underway for the teams that are out. So, with that, is there any final remarks you guys wanted to have?
The only thing is a quite interesting note is that every team that won this week had a character go near elite or do make elite status. They had Darlic with 120k, Cell with 92, Late Piccolo 95k, and then
Yeah,
Hulu with 86k. So all near elite or did make elite.
yeah, definitely going in order: Cinema, Namek, Androids, Cold. I think all of the characters that did nearly go elite could have gone elite if it was under. Like Late Piccolo, he just needed to survive a little bit more and could have gone elite. So definitely stuff could have happened, and as a,
It
and
also showcases, I think it also showcases that to do well in the playoffs, you don't necessarily have to, but it does help when you have that clutch character, that can just take the game and just run with it. That helps a lot.
Definitely not the character people expected on Namek to do it though, since
Oh no, of course.
Since Late Piccolo switched builds so much this season.
Yeah.
I think
But still
everyone,
a character that isn't surprising as he is a very solid one for them,
I
nevertheless.
think everyone expected it to be Nova, but
Oh yeah,
that
of course.
that did not happen. But yeah, everyone like kind of expected Cell to go near elite and cooler.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, with that, please again remember to check out the links in the description below. We have the Discord where you can both join in the conversations, join teams, or join the watch party. There's also a link to the website with all the Pataras rules. We'll be going over stuff for the Gauntlet MVP here in a future cast when it's closer to that time. But if you want to get some kind of know-how on it already, please check that out. Obviously, leave a comment on anything you see here. Again, thank you to all the people who donate their time to help make CapsuleCast possible with the pictures and all of that. And with that, that is CapsuleCast Playoff Round 1. Thank you, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
See ya.
See ya and good week.